Hello internet, it's been a while. Plenty of reasons why I've not made a video for a couple of months, maybe more. But it's a beautiful day today, and I've been wanting to make this particular video for quite a while. In fact, it's going to be a long-term review of my R9T. Because I've had it now for about 15 months. I bought it in May of last year. Now, since I bought it, I've spent 6 or 7 months working up in Newcastle with the bike down here, and we've also had that lockdown from the damn pandemic to contend with, so not done as much mileage, probably done half as much mileage as I would have expected in a year and a quarter, but in any event, I've done about 5,000 miles in it, so I think that's certainly enough that I can offer a view, whether that be good, bad or indifferent. I can offer a view on my bike, and I suppose I should start off by clearing that issue up in the first place, because I love it. Every time I get on the bike, I smile. There's never a day that I've had it that I thought it was a mistake to have bought it, and I traded in at some financial loss a rather beautiful Triumph Street Triple to fund this bike. The Street Triple was an absolutely perfect riding machine, and so for that to have been worthwhile, its replacement needed to be a fucking good bike, if you'll pardon my French. And to my mind, the R9T is just that, but it's not perfect. It's not the perfect bike, or at least it's not the perfect all-round bike. So I'm going to start off, I think, before I talk about what I like about it, I'm going to mention a few things, couple of things that I don't love quite so much. So I'm going to start off with an issue about comfort. And there are a couple of elements to this. First of all, the stock bike, as it leaves the factory, certainly with the pre-17 models, and this is a 2015 bike. So the stock bike suffers from BMW's kind of budget approach to suspension. Neither front nor back are particularly great. The front, which is actually it's the same units as you find on the S1000R or RR, I can't quite remember, but the non-adjustable sort of iteration of them. Does tend to dive a little bit soft, not particularly confidence inspiring. Could be better. The rear, although I've got to admit, I'm saying this having not yet been able to adjust it, because it seems to be bloody well stuck in whatever position it was in when I bought it. I'm going to just try and overtake this learner. So the rear shock is really is harsh. Fine on good even ground, but anything that's bumpy or has potholes, trust me, you'll know about it when you go over. So suspension not great. The other thing is the seat. Now when I first sit on this bike, it feels absolutely beautiful. I'm not particularly heavy. I'm only about 11.5 stone. And the stock seat, when I first sit on it, Actually feels quite plush and soft. And maybe for an hour I'm fine on it. After an hour and up to 1.5 or maximum of 2 hours, I'm getting quite uncomfortable. And after a couple of hours I need to just get off and stretch my legs. It's not great. It doesn't feel like a tourer. It's not meant to be a tourer, but could be a bit more comfortable. What else am I not 100% sold on? Ah, yes. I really don't like the instrument cluster, particularly the speedo, which is fussy and cluttered and not easy to sort of read at first glance. In fact, it's not particularly easy to read at second glance either. So those things I don't like, and to be completely honest, I'm not really sure that there's anything else that I would say I don't like about the bike. And that's after 15 months of ownership, which certainly gives you there's one other thing. Not that I don't like, but that I might change if I had the opportunity. Like this car to just go past for a moment. Yeah, so the one other thing I would change if I had the opportunity, not keen on the wheels. They're traditional spoked wheels, wire wheels, when it's wire spokes, not mag wheels, and they're tubed. The tyres are tubed, or rather, the rims require tubes because BMW, in their infinite wisdom, haven't seen fit to use the spokes that you find on the Scrambler, which don't pierce the rims inside the tyre, and therefore the Scrambler can run tubeless tyres. Anyway, I would rather some kind of mag wheel that was lighter and tubeless, because that would make quite a difference to the unsprung weight on the bike, and I'm sure it would, it would improve the handling. I'm not saying the handling is bad, but it would be an improvement. So I think it's fair to say that's everything about the bike that I'm not 100% keen on, or that I just don't like. Right, so what do I like? Well, if I'm being completely honest, I like almost everything about it, save for those things that I've mentioned. The bike has absolutely oodles of character and charm. If you're into the sort of retro style of bike, it's beautiful. There's no question about that, and I'll do a little walk around, all being well, later, assuming I can stop. Looks absolutely fantastic. I took the passenger subframe off recently, and the sort of associated passenger foot pegs, and opened the back up, and it looks even better. I'll be honest, I've got a lot of extras on this. I'm going to pop up a list of everything that I've sort of non-stock items that are on the bike. There's a lot of them. So it looks quite different to a stock bike, and the colour in particular gives it a bit of added sort of oomph, curb appeal. In fact, there are three modifications I've made that I'm particularly happy with, sort of over and above just pure looks or just protection, against spills. I've got a unit garage exhaust, not the entire system, just the It's just a slip-on, so the end can and connecting pipe. I think it's about 4 kilos lighter than the stock shotgun exhaust, and it sounds amazing. Hopefully you can hear a little bit of it, although the mic that I'm using is inside my helmet. So there's that. I've spent a quite vile amount of money on a seat pod to take the place of the passenger seat. It's made by Sargent. It has a 6-litre capacity, and aside from the fact that I like the lines of the pod, which is, I'll be honest, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I like it. Really useful in terms of holding bits and pieces, glasses, cases, locks, sometimes wallets, odds and ends that I have with me when I go out. So this is annoying, by the way. There's a car up ahead which is just holding everybody up, and this is actually a really nice stretch of road. So yeah, it doesn't quite look like a stock bike, but it looks undeniably like an R9T, even if it is one of the better ones that you're likely to come across. And I say so myself. So what else do I really like about it? The way it delivers its power. So it's 110 horsepower, which isn't, it's not superbike territory, but it makes 116 newton meters of torque, and it delivers that torque reasonably low down in the rev band. In fact, it's a very linear power delivery. I mean, really, whatever gear you're in, and wherever you are on the rev band, the power is pretty much on tap. I tend to hover, I suppose, when I'm not stuck behind bloody traffic. I tend to hover in the 3,500 to 4,500 range. I think that's probably about right for me. I wouldn't say I ride it gently, but I certainly don't ride it particularly hard either. People have mentioned flat spots on the R9T forum. I've never noticed one. I've not made any mechanical modifications to the bike, save for changing the end can and removing the exhaust flapper valve. No real difference, still a lot of engine braking, still pops nicely on the overrun. I've not had any issues with uneven fueling at low revs or pulling away. Excuse me. And so I've not needed to fit a booster plug, which some people do and have done. I just find it a very smooth engine for an old sort of air-cooled boxer. It's certainly not new technology. But I've got no complaints whatsoever. The other thing I love about it, being a horizontally opposed engine, is that sort of torque lean that you get when you blip the throttle, particularly noticeable if you're kind of stationary, but you can feel it at certain speeds as well. It sort of leans to the right. The other thing I wanted to mention is that it's not a light bike. I think it's about 220 kilos wet, something of that order. So, it's a heavy bike. But being a boxer engine, the weight, the centre of gravity is quite low, and so it's quite probably surprisingly easy to manoeuvre. I do a lot of riding in traffic, and a lot of that traffic is sort of in London, and I'm filtering on this bike all the time, and I've never found it an issue. It behaves impeccably. In fact, I'm sorry about this traffic at the moment. I'd hoped that we were going to have a slightly easier ride, but that doesn't seem to be the case. But yeah, it behaves perfectly well in traffic, and equally on an open road. I often go for quite long rides on, not so much on motorways because it's no fun, but certainly on fast A roads. And look, it's no sports bike, but with 116 newton meters of torque and 110 brake horsepower in terms of overall power, it's no slouch. You'd have to be going some to want for additional speed, put it that way. So all in all, I love the bike, as I said earlier, and never, not for a day, have I regretted buying it. In fact, this actual bike, this specific bike, played on my mind for about 10 months, from when I first saw it to when I finally bought it. And I was absolutely delighted to get hold of it in the end. In fact, it had gone down, it was at a dealer, a main dealer, and it had gone down by about £2,000 in 10 months from when I had first seen it. And I ended up buying a Triumph. In fact, I had 2 Triumphs in that period, and more on that in a second. In fact, more on that now. If I needed a bike now, I suppose the big question is, would I buy this one? And the answer is quite possibly yes. It would be either an R9T or it would be the new Triumph Speed Twin. The Speed Twin didn't exist when I bought either of the 2 Triumphs that I mentioned a moment ago. I started off with a Street Twin, and then I went to a Street Triple. Had the Speed Twin existed, I would have bought that, and the likelihood is, I can say with almost certain, or near certainty anyway, that I would still have that bike. So if I was going to buy, and I have tested the Speed Twin a couple of times, one quite recently, and I am tempted. I'm not going to say I would never change, but for the time being, I've got no intention of changing. So these are the hotel grounds. Pretty nice, right? What I want to do is find somewhere that I can stop, which is nice and picturesque, but where I won't be accosted by security and asked to leave. Because I really just want to take a quick video of the bike, which isn't going to do anybody any harm. I don't really know where I'm going, which doesn't help. Hotel Golf and Spa. That'll do. They do have a decent golf course here, not quite as good as the Grove Hotel, which isn't far away. It's probably their main competitor. I think the Grove is a championship course, but I wouldn't say no to a round on this one. Beautiful environment. And the hotel itself is lovely as well, as you'll see in a moment. In fact, you can just see it in the distance there. Seems to be reasonably busy as well, considering we've just come out of a pandemic. So I'm just going to park the bike here. And then I will get off and will probably opt to use the camera on my phone. Because it'll be a little bit clearer. Okay, so there's my baby. You can see what I mean about having opened up the back. Taking off the rear subframe and also getting rid of that large shotgun exhaust, twin cans on that. It's made quite a difference. Doesn't really look like a stock 9T at all, does it? So what have I got that's not stock? I won't remember everything, but looking at this side, I've got the end can that I mentioned. The Sergeant seat pod, mentioned that as well. There's a rear hugger. Some protection on the valve covers on the engine. Heated grips. Oberon bar end mirrors. In fact, I was going to mention those earlier when I said there were three things that I'm particularly pleased with. The Oberon bar ends were the third thing. You can see this paint job, by the way. It's a BMW colour, it's just not stock for this bike. Burnt orange and burnt orange flake, for what it's worth. So I think probably that's everything on that side. Looking at it from the front, sorry about this. Let's come back a little bit further. So looking at it from the front, I've got some black neoprene fork covers. The actual fork colour is gold. They're Sachs forks. It's not the Öhlins gold. It's sort of paler gold. Fly screen, another unit garage item on the headlight. That headlight grille. Come around this side. What can we see? Well, there's a swing arm mounted license plate holder, and above that you can just see that there's a tail tidy fitted, as opposed to that huge plastic board, huge plastic board that BMW put on these bikes as standard. What else? Can I see anything else? I think that might be just about it, or the major components anyway. So I'm going to hop back on the bike and we will carry on in the homeward direction. Oops. Oh, flipping heck. Right, well I think that's going to be it in terms of this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope it's given some idea of what it's like, what the owning experience is like in respect of the R9T. It'll be apparent that in my view it's a good experience, it's a positive experience, and it's a beautiful bike. If you've been thinking about buying one, then at least take one out for a test, and I'm absolutely certain that you won't regret it. And aside from that, thank you for watching. It'd be fantastic if you could subscribe and hit the like button, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.